Alright, we got some polling information that I think you guys are going to like. Now, this is from Abacus Data. Abacus Data, the reason I cover them so much is not because David Coletto is some hardcore conservative. He's right-leaning, but he's very honest in his reporting and has good polling models, probably the best out there. So I tend to cover him a lot. What we're about to see is something that I think could indicate that the tide is turning. Now, this is the map. The actual numbers, it's very close. So we're going to go up to here first. I thought I had this a little bit more organized, but apparently I didn't. But we have the Liberals and Conservatives actually tied in the popular vote. NDP at 7, Bloc at 7, Green at 3, PPC at 1. However, if you look at the seat count, the Conservatives would win a slight minority. Liberals losing 18 seats, Conservatives gaining 14. And if we look here, there's something very interesting. You see this riding that my mouse is hovering over right now? That's a riding called Carleton. There's a guy by the name of Pierre Poilievre who used to hold that riding. It looks like the people in that riding are having a little bit of buyer's remorse. Now, before we continue on with these numbers, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys so much for doing that. So we see a lot of blue. He's still way too much red. Or Greater Vancouver, there's a little bit of blue there. A little bit of a chink in the armor, if you will. Carleton has flipped back to Conservative. Don't know why they flipped to the Liberals in the first place. I guess they like being lied to out there. I have no idea. Little bit of a crack in the armor here in the red wall of Toronto. This isn't the numbers we want to see when we have the next election. But the fact that it's only been 8 months and we're seeing Angus Reid and Abacus show that the Conservatives could easily win the next election, whenever that may be, is a good sign this early into Mark Carney's Prime Minister term. So, breaking it down by province, this is where it gets pretty interesting as well. So you have the Conservatives with a slight lead in British Columbia, 40% to 39%. Alberta, of course, 33 point... Oh, excuse me. I had to pause myself. You have a 31 point lead there. And then you have, of course, another big lead in the prairies. No surprise there. But then a tie in Ontario. You're trending in the right direction there if you want a conservative government. Quebec, of course, Liberals win. Atlantic Canada only up by 8 points. That doesn't sound good, and of course it's not good. But there's other polls like Ecos who are showing that Atlantic Canada, the Liberals are leading by 20, 30 points, which is obviously ridiculous. Especially considering the Conservatives gained seats out east in the last election. But hey, it's Ecos, it's Frank Graves. What do you expect, right? Then here's a more clear chart. I'll leave this up in case you guys want to look at it here. But what you're seeing, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying that Mark Carney's finished just yet. But what I am saying is that when you have a lead like this for Pierre Poilievre, this quickly after an election, we've barely passed the honeymoon phase, and yet you have Pierre Poilievre in a virtual tie. And people say, well, you know, if Pierre Poilievre is such a scary guy to Mark Carney, why didn't they force an election? Why didn't they vote down the budget? Because it's so close right now, it could go either way. You don't want to head into another election right before a leadership review unless you know you're going to win. This polling model shows a very, very close victory. But let's be honest, if the Conservatives had a minority government, the other parties would likely work together to stop anything that Pierre wanted to do. And then you'd have the Bloc come in there and say, well, I'll help you out, but you better give me a bunch of stuff for Quebec. So really, the Bloc would hold a lot more power, and that's kind of ridiculous considering they only represent one province. But either way, you're seeing a little bit of a shift here. And then we're also... that's not a part of this, actually. Well, you know what? Let's go over it anyway. Before today, had you heard anything about a new energy agreement between the governments of Alberta and Canada related to a new oil pipeline that would run from Alberta to the BC coast. Yes, 58%, no 32%, not sure 10%. So it looks like a lot of people have heard about the pipelines. Now, I wish what they did, and I don't know if Abacus actually put anything in on this, but I wish they would ask people, do you believe if a pipeline's going to happen? I think those numbers would be interesting. But I thought that was an interesting little thing. I just might as well bring it up, I guess, right? I like numbers. I like polling information, so sue me. So the major takeaway that I'm getting from this, and if we go over to 338 Canada, like I said, you're going to see a lot of polling that is showing a Liberal win. But it's close, right? Yeah, Leger has it +7 for the Liberals. Okay. Nanos only has it +4, and he's usually pretty damn biased. Liaison +5. These are very small margins. The margin of error is like usually 2 to 3 points. So again, we're looking at close to, if not virtual ties here. Except Ecos, of course, who has the Liberals +11, which makes no sense, and there's no indicators actually showing that. If you're Pierre Poilievre, and you look at what he's doing right now, and he's continually hammering the fact that Mark Carney said, who cares, when asked about negotiating with Donald Trump, and the fact that groceries are still getting expensive, which Mark Carney promised he would change. Food bank usage is going up again. Mark Carney promised that would change. Mark Carney also promised that he would build things at a speed we've never seen before. That's not happening. Very interesting. How much more time is Canada going to give Mark Carney? More importantly, how much more time is the swing voters going to give Mark Carney? You see it on the map here. Carleton, the riding that Pierre Poilievre had for 20 years and they kicked him out, looks like they're regretting their choice a little bit. And I don't blame them, but it's their fault for believing Bruce Fanjoy's lie in the first place. So it looks like he's going to have a pretty short-lived term as an MP in Ottawa, which I think is good news. He doesn't do anything anyway. His whole campaign was based off of the fact that if you're any color other than white, Pierre Poilievre was going to deport you, which he's never said. And then they also said that Pierre Poilievre was going to take away all their jobs, which Pierre also never said. So he ran his campaign on a lie. It worked. He won. Okay, good job. Well, Pierre's back. His support hasn't gone anywhere. Don't let the Laura Babcocks and the Dean Blundells and the Warren Kinsellas tell you otherwise, or any of those liberal bots or shills that you see on X. These are accurate numbers. David Coletto has a good reputation. A really good reputation. Way better than Frankie Graves or Nick Nanos, in my opinion. So we shall see, but it's about to be a very, very interesting few months here. Mark Carney does not have that much more time. He's got maybe 4 or 5 months left to actually start getting things done and making progress on the food prices, on inflation, crime. They keep saying they're we're gonna fix the crime issue in this country, and yet it's not happening. And then you have the liberal women, of course, out there, and I have to go on a little bit of a rant here because this shit pisses me off. Liberal women complaining about how it's not safe on the streets, and I can't go outside when it's dark because it's not safe, which is a very valid complaint. How do they respond to it? They go out and they vote for the same party that's fucking caused it. Come on, ladies, that doesn't make sense. You need to start listening to your conservative female colleagues because they actually have a little bit of common sense. When they complain about how it's not safe, they actually voted for a solution. Conservatives are always better on crime. You can say what you want about Pierre Poilievre and a uniparty. The Conservatives have a way better track record. Why? Because Canadians actually hold them accountable. When they screw up, they get voted out. Unless you're Doug Ford, because he's basically a liberal. But Stephen Harper and Pierre Poilievre will be held accountable. The liberals will get in here, destroy the country for 10 damn years, And how do we respond? We vote them back in. And it's liberal women, especially the liberal boomer women, who are the biggest voting bloc, who vote liberal the most. And then you got to think about like poor women like Kate Alexander, who was almost unalived by her ex-partner. You'd think that guy would be rotting in jail, right? Nope, he's out. He's just chilling at home, apparently dating someone else. I don't get that. But there's no accountability with the liberals, and they keep lying. But why wouldn't they? They keep winning elections. If you could lie your way into a 6-figure job and never be held accountable, wouldn't you do it? Although the difference is, this is political. These are policies that actually affect our lives, so it matters more. Hopefully, these numbers indicate the tide is turning. In that liberal women or swing voter women are going to start to wake up because they can affect the elections big time. Women outvote men. A message to young men: get out there and vote. You don't like housing prices? You don't like the crime? You don't like inflation? You don't like mass immigration? Don't vote for the party who's created this mess. And don't stay home, because otherwise you're going to get outvoted. And these old liberal women are going to get what they want. And trust me, their interest is not in your future or their granddaughter's future. It's their fear of Trump. It's their selfish wants that's making them vote liberal. They're voting for their wants over your needs. So remember that next time you think about staying home. Again, if Pierre gets in and screws us too, I'll be here with a bunch of other people calling him out. The same thing needs to start happening with the liberals, but it needs to start at the polls, and it needs to start now.